Welcome to New York. Welcome to episode 127. It's been a little while since we've been in the studio.
Definitely.
We also thought we might wait until after the Philly game, knowing how big that matchup is every year, to come back and have an episode for you guys. But after everything that happened last night in the game and everything that happened after the game, which is probably just as big of a story, it felt wrong not to at least get on the mic, talk a little bit about everything going on. And yeah, I guess that's why we're here. And I don't know if there's somewhere that you want to go to first, because there's a million different things to talk about with this Toronto team.
Definitely a million things. Honestly, I would start with just how, that was the first time in a long time that I've actually had fun watching a game. I mean, that's kind of a stretch. Fun is subjective.
We did win 3 games in a row.
Right, fun is subjective, but it's been a long time since we've gone up, stayed up for a while. I know it got hairy. We go up 2, give up 1, go up another goal, give up another one. So the end was a little bit sticky, but just in general, that the flying high 2-0 up, it's been how long since we've experienced something like that?
It's been a while, and I couldn't help but think to myself at the end of the game, and this could be going too far, but is that the best result that Cushing has ever gotten for this club?
Ever might be a stretch, but definitely this season, it's up there with, some of the other wins, 3 in a row, 5 unbeaten. That was definitely an achievement, but this felt like everyone going into it was counting us out and saying, yeah, this team's in a good position. They had a little blip, but Toronto's so much better. They're in such better form. I didn't think that anyone really expected us to go in there and get a win, nonetheless be up 2-0 for most of the game, kind of controlling it.
Once the lineup drops and we find out, so talking about Philly earlier, we have a midweek this week. So we've got Toronto, tough game, Philly on the midweek, and then the Red Bulls at home this upcoming weekend. So Nick Cushing chooses to go with the rotated lineup first, as opposed to maybe rotating against Philly. That way, we have enough people that are, feeling fit for every game. And I think that kind of adds to it being such an important result too. Getting in some guys, and you think that there would be a loss of quality, and I think we probably need to eat our words a little bit. Definitely me, I think, talking about Malachi and what he showed this game. I think last episode we said he should only be playing for NYCFC 2 at this point.
Right.
And I guess it's just he needs minutes. That's what it is, kind of regardless of where it is. And
but it's also there was a clear change in confidence. He clearly had so much more confidence. He wanted to be on the ball. He wanted to be involved. He wanted to be taking the shots. So when you have a player who's in the right mindset like that with a good skill set, things like this game are going to happen.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't know if it's playing at home, kind of makes him feel more pressure, which is the complete opposite of most players. Most players
right.
are okay, at home I'm confident, I'm with my home fans, my family's here, this is the perfect storm for me.
Right.
Whereas it seems like Malachi was kind of the complete opposite.
Right. And then, even here you would think there'd be some anxiety for him. It's his first MLS start ever. I think expectations are obviously sky high, and who knows how much of it he sees, but it's hard to tell what would have been the switch flipper between last game and this game that would just have him turn into the player that we saw. Obviously, he goes and gets that goal, just a crazy finish. Off the post, the far post is just a stupid finish on Sean John. And there has to be a lengthy discussion about Sean John by the end of this episode. And, maybe we'll look stupid because more information might come out in the future. But the way that he was chasing down Tana is something we've never seen. And I think it was especially surprising to all of us NYCFC fans because we've had so many games with him and we have not seen that part of him ever come out.
Correct.
He's been in a million different situations with us where he never showed that. Yeah. So where that comes from, obviously there's the talk about Cushing apparently punching, what's the guy's name? Marshall Ruddy, I think the only 19-year-old player on the roster that Herdman alluded to. It was just,
Well, so like I texted you earlier, apparently, because I spent literally all morning trying to find any pieces of information to be able to talk to because I knew that we were going to be recording at some point. I just wanted to get a full picture of, maybe people who were there, around, what people are hearing. And apparently a player had hit or swiped at Cushing in the back of the head, and Tana did not like that. So Tana went to press that player and basically be like, yo, it's smoke. And Sean was trying to break that up, and in the process got headbutted by Tana.
Okay.
which then ignited Sean into a frenzy to go throw some knees and a headbutt of his own.
That's crazy. We've been in such chippy games with Sean as our captain, as our keeper. Like I mean, that was a pretty chippy game. But like, I feel like we've been in worse during run of the play. Like everything kind of exploded in this one at the end. But like we've had games before. You think of Thiago Andrade headbutting the Red Bulls at, I think that was at New Jersey, and Sean's at the other end of the field, but like same kind of gathering there, and like he never had lost his cool like that. So that was crazy to see, and I think what led to the initial player pressing Cushing is Herdman says that, if you remember last time when we played Toronto at Yankee, I think we were there.
Correct.
And Tana took off after Insigne, and that created like a little bit of a gathering in midfield as we're going in for halftime. And then Herdman says that Cushing punched a player in the face in the tunnel during halftime.
Which, if you know anything about professional sport leagues, is if something like that happens in like an assault,
yeah,
I do think that's something that a suspension would have been handed.
I mean, he would be fired if that happened. He would be fired. And Herdman says there's not camera angles in the stadium that would have captured it. So I feel like we should have heard something.
Yeah.
If there was any truth to this, which I'm just gonna go on camera on record and say that didn't happen.
Yeah, that did not happen.
Cushing did not punch a player. Maybe there was a shove or something, and Ruddy blew it up, or the coach saw wrong, and then he's just trying to use that as a motivating factor for the team, and he's been building it up for 2 months now that when we see them again at home, we're gonna take it to them, and then the game doesn't go their way. But there's no chance in hell that Cushing punched a player.
Yeah.
Even like knowing Cushing, I think on a little bit of a deeper level that we do just from interacting with him so often, like there's just no shot that he would do something like that.
He's fiery, but more in his words than anything.
And think of in the post-game gathering, like Herdman runs up and like in a way just tries to like football tackle him, and like Cushing just takes it and he's like, "What are you doing?" and walks away. Like if he was a hot-headed guy that is punching teenagers, there's no way Herdman is pressing him like that, and he's just like, "I really don't care," and walking away. Like he's gonna go.
Yeah.
So embarrassing from Herdman, to say the least.
You can smell the lies on him.
It's disgusting, and it's really.
No, like you should almost be suspended for lying like that.
If they win, like that doesn't happen. So that's how you know it's bullshit. So it's frustrating, and it takes away from the game too. We could be talking a lot more, and we actually probably should talk a lot more just about kind of different performances that we saw from players. I don't know how deep we are in now, but like we haven't mentioned Hannes yet.
Yeah. Well, I did just to wrap up the little scruffle. If you go back and watch the Apple TV version of it that's been posted everywhere at this point, some of the funniest reactions that you can see within it, if you start looking like, where's Waldo? You look at Sam, I think the director of media. If you watch him, he's just looking around like, what is happening? Like he's just kind of shielding for cover. The other one is Tales, just kind of looking so concerned for all of his teammates. He's like, what is happening? I'm not trying to be in this. I'm injured right now.
And I like the kit man and all the assistant coaches were kind of like secret servicing Nick Cushing like out like the president. So that was
There's a lot of good memes in that video for sure.
We have to clip them all. And I don't know, something about Cushing just taking that chest from Herdman and just looking at him like, you are just a ridiculous man. Like I have no respect for you.
I'm 100% expecting Tuesday that like Sean Johnson,
he's suspended. Has to be suspended.
Coach is suspended.
Pockets are gonna hurt.
Fines everywhere. I thought so, and this will actually be the last thing for the scuffle. But when they showed the ref at the end still on the field, I thought that he was going to come on the announcement and like assess red cards to everybody, because it seemed like he was watching the entire thing on the screen still on the field way after the final whistle. So I thought he was going to get on his little thing and be like, red card, Johnson.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen.
No, I think we're just going to get a bunch of like retroactive ones. Yeah. Like Tuesday's going to hit when all the league stuff comes out. It's over for a few players. Yeah. Tana and honestly, especially is gone.
Maybe the frustration came from Toronto feeling like Cushing didn't respect them by rotating the lineup too. That could have been a factor.
I mean, he got away with it. Like I honestly, I don't know how, especially with the way that we came in feeling about the game. We knew it would be a tough one, and then adding the rotation to it makes it feel almost impossible. So for us to squeak out that result, and
but you think of every performance of like the rotated players, every one of them showed up. Yeah. Perea, Malachi, Tavon, even Alonso, or Martinez, Martinez, even he had a good game. He didn't end up scoring, but he had a good game.
And I thought it was weird that we didn't end up seeing Jovan. Yeah. I really don't know what is going on with him. And we have a NYCFC 2 Open Cup game at least to it'd be crazy not to touch on it because the kids go on and advance against Colorado. And surprisingly, Jovan played, I think he played the full 90, right?
Yeah, he played 90.
And just
hard to tell that he did, but he did.
He was on the field.
He was on the field.
Nothing will really tell you that other than just the lineup saying that he was there. Because otherwise,
to be fair to him,
he was missing.
Like I texted this to you. If you go back and watch that game and just watch when Jovan's in good situations or making runs, it seems like the players literally pull back and are like, "We are not feeding him." I think that they're kind of. This is me reading in from a 30,000-mile view and over analyzing, but like I think they're a little pissed off that he was there.
And how you could that I think that can happen, and it can happen unintentionally too. Like they're just probably not familiar with his game, and he's not even familiar with the system that he's getting dropped into. So he may be making runs, and they're expecting him to do something else, and they're like, "Well, that's not an option." For the way I play.
I just don't think that bringing him there was a good idea at all because being at that Hartford game. We saw how close that group is. That group, you could not get a mole in there to give any info on anything. Like they're super, super close. They're tight knit, and they all have this chemistry.
They play as like a whole unit.
Exactly,
it's actually crazy.
It's really crazy to watch. And so you drop a Jovan in there who's already pissed off for not playing. So much so that he's telling his grandma, and his grandma's making comments like, "You drop him into that, it's just a horrible idea." And I feel bad for the head coach over there.
Yeah,
that it even happened.
I mean, and we're, I guess, lucky to get away with a win too. I think Colorado, at least table-wise in the USL, is supposed to be worse than Hartford, and although they go on and beat Hartford this weekend, so I think the Utes sent Hartford into a bit of a tailspin of a season after upsetting them in the Cup. But probably the biggest thing that we can talk about the Open Cup game, and then we'll dive in Toronto fully, is JJ's goal. Looking like Messi. I'm just going to say it. Looking like really Messi, good. Beating like 4 defenders, megging the keeper, and then the nuts to rip the sign me up at the box where Cushing, David Lee, all the sporting staff are sitting watching the game. The only thing I can say is if you're in that box and you make these sporting decisions, the best thing you can do is listen to JJ and sign him.
To be fair. Yeah.
I mean, I don't see any downside to doing that aside from taking him away from the second team, which maybe we have ambitions for the rest of the season with the Open Cup or with the MLS Next Pro season. But I think we've said this before, the second team is the second team.
Right.
It is second to the first team, and especially in a position that is so dire and everybody's been crying for us to bring either Calhera or JJ up because they've both been killing it. You have to at least give him a run. You have to give him the respect that you didn't give MD Myers, who now walked to Charleston Battery, is playing well there, scores, I think in the Open Cup 2 or 3 times now too.
Yeah, a few times.
Yeah.
I think the move, though, probably doesn't have to be rushed, just because that you want them to continue that cup run with those players. And if anything, if either we go on to win the Open Cup, which would be insane, or we do get knocked out, I think at that point, then he can be called up and signed. But I wouldn't do it a second before that, before you know what's up with the
Once
Open
the
Cup.
Open Cup's over. Yeah, and maybe we'll do some homework for next episode and figure out what that rule actually is about bringing first team players down to the second team. I think, at least from what we've heard just in passing with other media members, is it's some kind of minute restriction where if you played X% of minutes for the first team, then you can't come down to the second team at that point. Because I'm interested to see if we keep going deeper into this Open Cup, like it's pretty advantageous. Like, what about Tales?
Right.
Like Tales, if Jovan could play for the second team, Tales can.
Right, for sure.
And like that is a great opportunity for him to build some confidence and some form too.
Right.
Before we stick him back into the MLS.
And have us have a way better chance of going and grabbing an Open Cup.
And let me drop one other name that I just thought of. Maxi.
True.
Maxi is fully, if he's fit, if he's healthy.
But there may be an age restriction too.
That's what I
have no idea.
Yeah. But if it's just minutes, we can field an Open Cup team that involves a Maxi and a Tales, and maybe that's not good because the kids are so cohesive together.
Right.
But there is there's a big step in quality if you put a Maxi and Tales
So
on
what
that
type
field.
do you? I know because you have a spreadsheet. What type of contract is Mijatovic on?
I believe it's like a under 22 initiative type thing.
So that might be
an
issue too. Is contract
possible
type
contract stat. Yeah,
because like
do they let you put a DP on your
doubt
second
it.
team? There's no way they let Tales.
I would not.
They're
I
like, you're
assume
just
not.
fucking bully.
Yeah, you're dragging it at this point.
So we'll see. We'll do some reading. We'll do some
research.
homework, and we'll report back after Philly, after Red Bull. But we have to touch more, I think, on the performances in this Toronto game. I wanted to talk about it earlier, but Hannes maybe he was the best player on the field last night, and he is. If he's going to play like that, him and Santi are neck and neck for having the ability to be an MVP on this team.
Yeah, I thought Santi
Of this team,
Yeah,
an MVP of this team.
yeah. Hannes kind of took over, kind of what Santi was doing for so many games, which to me was kind of nice. I think if we had lost, I would have been upset at Santi for his performance. Not that it was bad; it was just quiet, and that's not typically what we see of him. But Hannes was shining so bright that it would be hard to have two players pulling the strings like that. So, big ups to Hannes, but yeah, Santi is able to have kind of an off game or a quiet game, and the team, at least in this circumstance, was able to respond, and that's huge for the team. I think that's huge for Santi mentally, because I think last game he was super, super upset because he wasn't able to be as effective as he would want to be, and nobody else really stepped up to be able to be that killer.
Yeah.
Whereas in this game, that did happen. Hannes did do that.
And I feel like hindsight is kind of 20/20, but we probably could have gotten away with giving Santi the rest for this game.
Probably.
Obviously, at the Colorado game that we were at, it was very noticeable that Santi's legs were torched.
Yep.
They were gone. And he looked tired in this game as well, and it's easy to say now after the fact, but I feel like we probably see Santi get the rest against Philly, right? There's no shot he can keep.
No, he probably plays, to be honest.
But then you can't not play him against Red Bulls. Like, it's...
True.
We're in a position where this guy has to play every minute, and I mean, maybe this game was enough of a rest with him not going like ultra instinct for 90 minutes and like putting the whole team on his back.
Yeah.
So
I think there was definitely an effort, at least, to have him not be doing that.
Yeah, and Hannes allowed him to, and that's you're right. The biggest point to take away from that is one thing we were worried about is what happens if Santi has an off day.
Right.
And now we know we can absorb that.
Exactly.
If other people want to step up, so there's not too much to say otherwise. I mean,
well, I did want to give Cushing some flowers too, because I know he rotated the lineup. I was making some jokes about that in text, but he showed up. He was able to get the result. I think he made good substitutions when he did make them, and I think there was I think he listens to our podcast, and I say that because there was an actual effort to play through the middle, as opposed to just relying on the wings in this game. It didn't happen often, but when somebody saw space in the middle, they were taking advantage of it. And for that, thank you, Nick. I'll take that W, and we'll move on.
Yeah, maybe part of that is a factor of Pereira being in too.
True.
He
a little
is
bit more direct.
He's a serious player. We've all been saying this, and he hasn't really had the opportunity yet this season to present that to everybody, just because with Keaton and Sands and Santi, it's hard to fit. It's hard to only pick 3 out of those 4 guys.
Right.
Like, you're pitting a bunch of dudes against each other that all should be getting starting minutes. But Pereira, to go and get the goal too, is just, I feel like we, as a community, we probably think more about Pereira as like, we would prefer him in the defensive role and probably a Keaton or a Santi in front of him. But like, he time and time again proves that he is like that full box-to-box guy.
Yeah, he was really good.
So.
And honestly, he was so good that when Keaton was on, I was like, dude, Keaton is looking bad. I think Keaton had an off game, and it kind of gave us a little bit more pressure than we probably should have had, just because he seemed out of sorts. He didn't seem locked into the team, which I love Keaton, but he just had an off game. But it showed how effective Pereira was being.
We talked about it last episode too, that Keaton's legs were fully gone, and to see him get subbed out of the Colorado game was something that we don't see.
Right.
Like, Keaton is not a guy that's getting subbed out of a game. He's playing the full 90, so maybe it was just a fitness issue that carried over to this game as well. And I think fair play to the subs that did look good for us, as opposed to Keaton, who to come into a game that is like the Toronto game
It's tough.
is so tough.
Super tough.
Like, you're coming into a pretty hostile environment where like everybody is already on 1,000 in terms of like emotion, anger, effort, everything, and like to just get going to match that intensity is tough to do, and he wasn't able to. But again, that we're now in the position where we can answer the questions. What if Keegan has an off game? What if Santi has an off game? So it's smooth sailing from here. We have 2 massive games. At Philly is going to be tough. At Philly is going to be tough. And then Red Bulls at home is obviously a roll of the dice. Anything can happen. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 2 games, if we go back to back to back scuffles after the final whistle, 3 games in a row within 7 days, that might happen. It truly might happen, especially with us now. Like, we're bringing that energy with us.
Oh, for sure.
Like, we have to play Philly in 3 days.
3 very, very high intensity games, all in a row, all within 2 days of each other.
Mm-hmm. High emotion. And you know the Philly crowd is just
full of idiots.
Yeah, there's just no reason to, I don't know.
Call an FBI.
Do something.
Are they going to have the FBI on location?
Yeah, just in case. No, and now you know the refs are probably going to be on high alert because of the shit that happened with Toronto. Yeah. So who really knows what's going to happen? And something has to be said about the ref in that Toronto game. I'm sure the Toronto fans probably feel the same way, but this was the first time in a few weeks, which is a good thing, that the ref sucked.
Yeah.
I'm happy that we haven't had to talk about a ref for like a month, but he was horrible. To give that 1 card on Alonso, and then later in the game when Sands got wiped by, I don't even know who it was. It might have been Longstaff. It was one of their center backs.
Yeah.
And for that not to be a foul, and Alonso's is crazy.
Yeah.
And that's among 2 decisions of a game of insane calls. He probably directly contributed to letting what happened at the end happen. Because he let way too much slide. He was not keeping people under control at all. There were a ton of moments where Toronto should have been given cards, and like their actions were let slide, and that's why they felt like they could do whatever they wanted. So, sorry, Toronto. If you're a Toronto fan, keep whining.
But
Cushing did not hit your player, but he did beat your ass last night as a team, and that's 2 on the season. So you're gonna have to see us in the playoffs if you want your get back.
It was tough too to as 2 Drake fans who are on the Drake side of the beef to see us tweet not like us.
Yeah.
Because it hit so hard. It felt good, but there was like that secondary cringe.
Yeah.
That game got me so hyped up that I'm like, we should drive to Philly.
People might say that's our worst take of the whole episode.
What?
It's being on the Drake side of the beef, but I'm prepared to...
I'll fight to the death about that. You're wrong. If you're on Kendrick's side, you're wrong.
I think we're both prepared to fight that war by any means necessary.
Yeah.
So follow us everywhere you get your NYCFC information, where you get your podcasts. We're probably there too. And if you want to tell us that Kendrick won, at Post90Pod on Twitter. We've been building...
The case?
That sounds wrong when we're talking about Drake.
No, we're talking about Kendrick.
We've been honing our argument skills when it comes to the Drake and Kendrick beef in group chats for like 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
So
and we haven't lost
it's
yet.
bulletproof. It is bulletproof.
We haven't lost yet.
Although the group chat is getting together today after this recording, and it will be the first...
It's a little bit harder live when you don't have like a few minutes to think about your response.
It will be the first in-person, conversation about this thing. So
I'll just say it. I'm ready to knock Tom out.
we're going down swinging. If we go down, we're going down swinging. And just shout out Cush, shout out the boys for getting that result. Like I said, I think one of the biggest results of Cushing's tenure with this club, and we got to roll into Philly. We have to show him who's boss.
We're currently fifth.
Currently fifth.
Even though we have a game on this couple, like half the table. But
yeah. I mean, that really takes
still
away
in fifth,
from
though.
the fact that
we're still in fifth.
But that'll do it. That's 127. Tried to keep it short. You'll probably hear, unless what happened after Toronto happens at Philly, you probably won't hear from us until after the Red Bull game. I think we are at least partially planning to be at Citi Field for that. I know we're also sending our FIFA tournament winner there, so hopefully, they can get a picture. Maybe we could share with everybody kind of what the winner ended up getting. And I'm looking forward to it. This next week, it's fun to watch NYCFC again.
Yeah, and then there's so many in a row, so we'll see you guys following the derby. Peace.
Peace.
The dark